It's 10 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Minutes of the previous meeting.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any additions or deletions for the agenda?
No, I don't have anything. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes, motion carried. Is there any reason we need to wait for the Feld?
No, Dale, you can step right in.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
What I did is I've got every packet for each one of you. Shows the different floors and what prices I came up to them for putting in light detection in each level. One thing that I did change a little on is I started looking at what it would take to combine the existing panel that's here now and use that for all the devices in this building too. And what was happening is I was going to end up with too many devices. It was going to be where if I added everything here, what was going to happen is there wasn't going to be any room for growth if they ever wanted to do like the panic switches or anything, if they wanted to do that through this system in the courthouse. So that's why that first setup is there on a separate panel for like this building. Any future that you would possibly have, you know, for panic, security issues, and you could always add the building next door that's on that old panel right now. That was building 77, I should say, because that is on a panel of its own right now. So I didn't want to, I was afraid to combine everything because then we were going to end up getting too much of an issue if you get down the road, because, you know, we wanted to make sure this panel would survive any of your needs for the next 15 years or whatever. So that's kind of how I got it on that first paragraph. I put in a separate panel and a separate keypad. The keypad, I figured, would probably be down in the maintenance area if they wanted to have it down there where you could silence it and everything from there. I guess what I did is I showed you as far as each floor a breakdown, because it ended up being more than, you know, what we had discussed at the time. I thought it was going to be somewhere around $5,000 to $6,000 per floor, but the second floor, with all the smoke detectors and everything that's in there with toll stations and everything else, it ended up being more than that also. If and I know we can go back and forth. I was just going to kind of show you like an example on the basement level, unless I'm moving too fast. If you guys have any questions on that, stop me. But I just kind of highlighted everything that we were putting in, like say in the basement level, for like smoke detectors, heat detectors, pull stations, horn strobes, and then of course strobes in the public restrooms.
Help me out here, Dale, what's SM?
That is, yeah, I should have, that's smoke detectors.
Okay.
Pull station, the PED STA is pull station where they can activate the fire alarm system and set it off. The H strobes is horn strobes, of course. They would be the items that make the noise to get the people out. I just kind of abbreviated on that a little bit.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Now what I did too, I was just trying to keep the cost down as much as possible. I didn't go as far as per floor. What I've got is like the basement would be on the fire alarm panel. It would be showing just the basement level. it wouldn't identify each and every room. Because when I started figuring out pricing and everything, that, of course, brings up the cost more. So I didn't know if that was a concern of yours or not, you know, as far as, you know, like the vaults or whatever, if it would, again, I should back up. If something went off on the basement level, it would just show basement level. And then it would show which smoke detector was lit. But, you know, when you go to the device, it would show that it's steadily lit. And it would let you know that that's the device that went off. You know, if you had a false alarm or something like that. Some places opt to have it, well, like over at the Sheriff's Department, their panel right now shows, you know, like what room it's in, which department or which, you know, booking room or whatever. But that again is a little bit more cost.
How much more cost is that?
The smoke detectors are probably about twice as much. The smoke detectors run around $60. The addressable ones would run about $100 to $110. So I mean, I can give you I can get you a proposal on that also to show you that, you know, that would be identified that way also, if you want me to.
What do you guys think? I mean, it would shorten the reaction time to be able to know where it's at. If you're, yeah, they'll go off, but if you can't identify quickly where it's at, what's the value of that?
Some places, like, I guess, like the schools, for example, their systems still are a zone system, where it just shows like certain areas or whatever.
So with that being said,
Just like this way.
it would be, when you went, it would identify a floor. It'd be first, second, or third
Yeah,
floor,
yeah.
as proposed.
Yes, yeah. I thought about doing it both ways right away and then give you that, but I just wanted to get the input of you for that in case you do. Because it wouldn't be any problem for me to identify this as, if you wanted to go with addressable, this would be this much additional cost per, you know, for like the basement level or for the first floor or second floor. I didn't want to get it, you know, a lot in different detail at this time, just to kind of see your input on it and see which way you would possibly want me to go on this.
The addressable, that would just tell you what the first smoke alarm, or
Yeah.
where it is.
Each one would be...
Because they'll all eventually go off, it's very bad.
Yeah, God forbid if that ever happened, but yes, they would go off. What it would say right away would be like, well, probably the first floor would be more of a better example. Treasurer's room or treasurer's vault or auto department or whatever, recorders, that would all be identified that way, if you wanted it that way.
I'm not sure, I'm just thinking
Yeah,
out
well,
loud.
we should talk to the fire department. With the local fire.
They would probably want it in as much, the best detail as possible, if they can get it.
But
Because then it
to do
shows
that,
you.
you still have to go to the panel.
Yes.
You'd have to go to the panel to get your identification
Yeah.
anyway, right?
Yeah. Now, usually, like in a courtroom, courthouse or whatever, we don't normally put that keypad right out in the open, you know, because it's more or less where all the public's walking into, but, I mean, we can, but for this example, I put it down in the maintenance room. With it being, you know, with your different areas, I mean, I have a feeling, God forbid, if you did have a problem, they're gonna come in and they're gonna see smoke or something in that period by that time anyway. But I
So
tried to...
Jack, maybe it's not that big a deal. You're right in the idea that if, once it goes off, a bunch of them are gonna go off if it's
Yeah.
serious at all.
Yeah, especially smoke, it doesn't take much smoke. So most of these alarms go off.
Some, like now, some of the, what people get kind of a misunderstanding on is, like in homes too, and we stress that to people in homes, you know, 10 years go by real fast on the ones that you have in your house, and we always tell people if they're older than that to throw them away and buy new, because the older ones were a lot more sensitive than the new ones are. just because of the principle of it is, the technology of it has changed a lot also, to make them less, you know, alarms, false alarms. I mean, because, you know, the main floor, like 14, you know, we're just looking at, you know, possibly another, at the most, you know, $700 to $1,000 more per floor, to give you an idea. Like I just took 14 times $50 more.
As I think about it, I mean, I think that this proposal, because if you, Jack's point of once one goes off, I mean, you're more likely gonna have a bunch go off. Yeah, if it's a significance. I don't,
You know, and a guy can do this, to give you an idea too, you can do this, each floor, you can do it different. If you would want certain floors to be addressable and some not, a guy can do that too, because this panel's got both setups. It can be conventional or addressable. So, that's why I just thought I'd get you guys' input on it first before, if you wanted me to, I can insert a line in here too and show this is how much more if you wanted the addressable.
I think we don't need to identify that room.
Now, if you go with like this, the pull stations and the smoke detectors would all be on one zone. So it would show like either basement, first floor, or second floor. Usually that's the way they're always set up, unless you want the addressable feature.
I'm fine with that, too, after thinking through.
Some people, you know, anymore it seems to be about 60-40. Sometimes anymore they lean more toward the addressable when you've got all these different rooms that are all locked up at nights. That's the only issue.
But if you can tell that smoke alarm went off first, you know what room it's in anyhow.
On the addressable, the conventional is just going to say basement.
You're not gonna go to a specific room, or what smoke detector went off first, I should say.
Not on the conventional way, the way this is right here. It would be like the basement would all be one zone. If it was addressable, where it's the other $50 more for the smoke detectors, then it would say basement women's restroom or basement
You can
assessor's
do it by
office.
zone.
Yeah, that's the way I proposed it first, as a zone.
Which zone meaning one floor?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, new construction, you know, it's getting to be more and more addressable per room description than it is the other way nowadays. But that's why I thought I'd just see which way you guys, you know, as far as which way you would possibly want me to do this. And again, I can give you the option on it. And because we install the same wiring and everything, it's just it's different smoke detectors.
I'm flexible either way. Doesn't make a great deal of difference. I mean, if we're probably in the long term, if you can identify it by floor, that's probably adequate.
And it just gives you some different ways to think about it and see which, you know, if there is any issues on it. You can do this, guys, as far as on, you know, if you're not, you know, just to give you an idea, if you're not wanting to do all this at one time, you know, that can be done too. You know, if you opted not to do, you know, as far as different floors. I mean, we're working on the Carroll Courthouse now, but they're doing all the floors. They're just, their maintenance staff is helping us install the wiring and everything just to cut down on their labor costs. But that's kind of the way theirs is doing it. Theirs is the addressable, to give you an idea.
Our floors really aren't that big. It's gonna be fire up here, it's gonna be,
downside from like the second floor is, you know, as far as there's a lot more smokes up there. Because I probably got I'm an overkill on there because of all the different little cut-up rooms. I wasn't sure where I start and where I stop on that second floor. So, I mean, there's some of these rooms that, you know, in that far northeast corner, with these smaller rooms, I wasn't sure if we should go with each one of them, but again, that's why I opted to do this first, and we can take them out if you don't think that a person would need all of this. Kind of the way I start with corridor detection, and then I go through and deal with the rooms as far as if we were putting smokes in. And ended up 24 smoke detectors on the second floor. So it's almost twice as many as what's on the basement level. This panel also, I'd like to say, this panel that I'm proposing it's been manufactured from Honeywell and I've been, I guess, in this 30 years now, and this panel today is still being used, which is nice because at least you have something that, with all the technology, the way it changes and everything, there's upgrades to it and everything, but it's still the original circuit board and everything on that, of course, with the updates. So it's been around some time and everything, and it's going to be around for some time down the road, too. So nowadays, you never know. But I'm afraid that if you do decide to do this, I wouldn't suggest trying to tie it into Ken's panel. I went and talked to him the other time when I was here at the meeting and asked him first, before I started counting up all the devices, if he had any concern about it, and then the more I thought about it, I wouldn't think that you'd want devices up here to act with the jail and everything to activate, because you wouldn't want to, of course, you'd have to evacuate them people. So that's why I thought it's probably better just to keep them both separate.
Well, it is and it isn't, because you're going to end up evacuating anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
But if this happens during the night, and the panel's here, is there an alarm then in the sheriff's department that?
There would be, and we can tie it into that's a good point, we could tie it straight into their panel downstairs where it'll show that it's the courthouse panel that's going off.
Because otherwise, these horns could blow and the lights could blink, and there's nobody here, you would never hear it.
Yeah, what I was planning on doing, I wasn't planning on activating their horns over there. I was just planning on it to activate their keypad
Right.
that they have over there, because I didn't think you wanted it to activate the horns
No.
over there. And we can do that just by programming that into the.
But that would
the
be
other
programmed
panel.
in
Yes, yeah, but I guess I didn't identify that as far as on the panel, because all that takes is just one little
That's in the
program.
middle of the night, the horns could blow and blow and blow.
Yeah, yeah.
well, with zero, I mean, where you want it there anyway because of the comm center.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can change that too, but I had forgotten about that. I knew I was going to do this because of that reason, with this being all shut up, given that, they'd probably hear it, but still, it wouldn't be from the other building.
Yeah, because an alarm could go off and come, work right there.
Because they've got that keypad in the comm center there, so that's the way it would go off.
On this plan, you've got, LO, is that just,
Oh, I'm sorry, that's my terminology for lift out ceiling.
oh, okay, all right,
Yeah.
I couldn't figure that.
That's for me to know that, on lift out ceiling, we don't have to, we would install conduit or wire mold where the wiring would be exposed.
I see,
The
okay.
lift out ceiling, you don't have to, so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of my terminology, Jim, I forgot to identify
By,
that.
by code, you don't have to
No.
have that conduit.
Because see, that wiring's only, it's only got
12
24 volts on it, DC actually. So, yeah, but I did the same thing when I had Carol get out that way too.
Okay.
Somebody asked me on that up there too. It's just my terminology and I forget to let everybody.
Well, that's fine, I just,
To let everybody else know what I have it for. Very good point. But again, I do have all the different rooms and stuff identified with, having devices in there. So it does add up to be quite a few devices.
About $20,629 roughly. Total.
I came up with about 15,000.
Good. Where's we?
Or am I missing?
2,500, 13, lower 20.
I missed
$20,629.
I just kind of left it this way as far as each floor, so you guys would know the kind of breakdown it is per floor.
Oh, that first $1,932 is the panel and
Yeah. Panel,
the.
keypad, wiring run to that, and then you
I see,
connect
okay.
the
Yeah, I missed
two
one.
panels together.
And that would include the wiring then into the comm center.
Yes. Yeah, actually, it's done through the panel that's down in the basement, and that activates through the program. It would go off on their existing keypad over there. It wouldn't have a separate one for over here. I don't think, you wouldn't want that. We can do it just by programming the existing panel.
I don't know, it's enough money, I don't know if we should get a quote from another, or we can do this.
Yeah, there's other companies that do this out of, out of Sioux City. There's companies, Des Moines, Omaha.
I think we ought to get at least one more quote.
Yeah, it's
What
more,
we're talking about this time.
more than 10,000, I don't know.
Yep, I
We have around
understand.
20,000, and we've gotten by all these years without it. I think it's good, I'm really in favor of putting it in. Just to be on the safe side so that people read the minutes or looking in, did we get a quote or somebody else? I just assume keep it as local as possible, but what do you think of that?
I agree. I mean,
We
the,
don't want to put it up, make it need to act
That's why I kind of left you the drawings and everything too, to show you what we were all putting in per floor. So,
and the local part of that is important to us, both for service and just maintenance of it.
if I understand, okay.
And that'll give us, I'm not sure, I want to think about this room. I might talk to the fire department, see whether they would appreciate it or hurt.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
It's pretty,
You pretty well covered it, looks like,
Okay.
pretty thorough.
All right.
Good
Thank you.
report.
There is a lot of labor in these old buildings.
Yeah.
We found that out with, computer wiring and things.
Usually,
It's not,
it's usually about, well, anymore, it's usually about half, sometimes labor's more than half of the total job, so.
the good thing is lift out ceiling, a lot of it is that way, so that will simplify.
And nowadays too, you can't just, it used to be where you could just lay it up above the ceiling, and now you have to attach it.
Yeah.
You can attach it to the tie wires and everything up high, but, that's holding the ceiling up, but they don't want it laying on the ceiling anymore, which is understandable.
They used to do that all the
Well, I
time.
think even our maintenance guys would appreciate that.
Yeah,
I mean, they're up in there cleaning those furnaces and changing filters and lights and
yeah.
whatnot. Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Last week, we opened some bids on some shingles, and we had a pretty wide variety of options. That one bid from Hedberg and Son for the steel of $31,500 was for the entire building. I don't know if I pointed that out last week or not, but he couldn't get a shingle to match the new construction, so he proposed that steel shingle to cover the entire building. So,
I think he said that.
okay.
I think
All
he
right.
did.
Okay. You guys tell me what part of this you don't want to look at. We had three relatively local bids for the asphalt shingles. One from Lamar's and one from Des Moines.
I said this last week, and I've been thinking about it, for some time when we're looking at doing these projects. These two buildings that we're talking about working on are very accessible and have easy access, and therefore I'm more in favor of just doing the asphalt repair or asphalt replacement, just because, like on this building, half the cost was because of the height.
Oh, absolutely.
And by the time they put up scaffolding and in these other two instances, they're very accessible just with a ladder off the ground. And like on the ambulance building out there, if we can get, there's really no reason to look at replacing the new part of the building. It's in very good shape yet. And so if we can get an asphalt match to that, I think that's the route we are.
Yeah, I
I think so too.
The one bid was from Menser for both buildings, asphalt, I think that's the one.
Those were individually, they were the low bids.
That was the low bid.
That's the one I think. It does good, it's local, does good work.
What was
It's
the
the lowest.
life of those?
That was a 35-year shingle, that's what we asked for.
That's what we asked for.
Yep.
You making,
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we accept the bid from, what's his first name?
Menser.
Kirk Menser Construction.
Kirk Menser Construction.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye. So, Kurt Metzer will have the bid on.
I'll get
Shingle.
hold of them. That total on those two buildings was
It's a little over 10,000.
$10,933.
Yeah.
Quite a little over 10,000.
What was that, 10,000?
933.74.
Oh, there's a lot of shingles going on, as you go around the country.
there's quite a few coming out of the landfill.
Have you guys had any complaints on people dumping along the roads?
Not recently.
I had one from over, they said it was on Ira, or that area of Ira, I went and drove down to the, all on Ira and up Hope yesterday, I couldn't see, but he said, the complaint said there was a stove and a Davenport somewhere along down through there. I didn't know.
I talk to Mike right now once or twice a year, once a year, what he sees.
So,
We haven't seen a big increase. You know, talking about roads, I had a person ask what our policy was on, some farmers are farming into the ditch more and more. And this individual said Woodbury County passed a resolution or ordinance on it. I don't know. You know, I see it, you know, people take the fence out and then they start, you know, swerving out between utility poles and get farther out. And driving home from Nemaha yesterday, one farmer was almost within 3 feet of the edge of the road. And on the west side, it's about 12 foot. And every once in a while you have landowners complain about snow removal and no ditch. But the bad thing about it is, you know, it just keeps, the more you keep farming, it just fills the ditch up. Pretty soon there's just no, you know, I haven't talked to Ron or Mike about it.
Every once in a while, you'll notice or get a call about some burning or just some dumping in the ditch. I mean, there's, I've had a couple of contacts which I called Mike about, where they had, I don't know what they're kind of using it for burn pit. And
Well, there's a lot of that.
the wood part of it usually pretty much goes away, but this one had a bunch of metal in it.
Anyway, I haven't seen, you know, you worry about that landfill's closed. They can't, landfill's not open, or they don't want to pay
Yeah.
$11 for stove.
Not on wood, I haven't seen, we haven't had much of that
Yeah.
trouble up in this area. Or at least not that I'm aware of. But
Sometimes, you know, people like leave Lakeview and hit the landfill and stuff ends up in the ditch and blows out her.
didn't they used to leave some stuff in front of the gate once in a while too, at the landfill?
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to
I
go.
thought if you did, but it's not mentioned up there.
Before I forget it, the District 3 legislative workshops is in Spencer this year on June 23rd.
23rd.
Today's the last day to register.
8:30.
Jim, I have to have a scope on a shoulder on that day.
Okay.
That's my only option for you.
June 23rd.
I'd like to go.
I plan to go.
I'll plan it
I'll
out.
register Dean and Jack.
Spencer.
One, if they ask for topics of discussion, you might talk about this CRP, this easement discussion.
Did you read that email from Ivan?
No.
I got it at home and it was on my desk. It was in the tray.
What's
Well,
his name?
Torbert's, Don Etler's prepared a response. He's not in favor of the resolution as it's,
Okay, good, that's good, because
it just doesn't go far enough to, well, you can read it.
and then part of that discussion, the easement that, and we've done that in the last 10 years where they didn't have enough easement to do the work that was necessary, but Ivan came in here and said that because you can use it the other 39 years of its life, that they only need to value that easement at about maybe 20% of the value of the land. And now with this proposal, they're saying you can't use that property the other 39 years of
So
it.
I think Etler's recommendation is, you know, we don't allow CRP signups in the district right away, in the easement.
But I totally disagree with that because we didn't, the districts didn't buy the property. If they want control of the property, they should buy it instead of using an easement, because if you're controlling and saying you cannot use that property, you should own the property. And when Ivan came in here on a couple of occasions, we had his reasoning for the value of that easement is that you can use that property every other year that there's no work on it. And with that proposal, he's pretty much saying that their stance is that they kind of own the property when they don't. That's how I look at it.
Well, I'm sure it'll be from Ivan's email, it's really a non-event for us this year. We don't have any projects, or if we have any projects. It is a concern because they don't want you in there. They don't want us in the right of way, the CRP, or tree removal, or spot tile repair. Basically, they don't want us, in that area during the nesting period, which would interfere with our tree control program, and if we have to fix the tile.
Or slide.
It affects more than just a clean.
If you think, and we've had this discussion one other time, if you think about the consequences of that resolution, then me as a farmer and as a landowner, I'm not going to re-sign up for the buffer strip. I'm going to farm it. And I hate to see that because it's a very good program for both contaminant and soil. But if that resolution goes and it's supported, if they're going to exercise the rights of an easement, not owning the property, then personally, I'm not going to sign up for the CRP program, and I'll farm it the other 39 years, and which I hate to do because I think it's a really good program. I think you use it too. But that'll be the consequences of.
I don't think Ron's coming today.
Oh, he's not.
No, he's not.
That is right.
And we've got on the agenda, I haven't talked to Ben about it, I don't know if Jack, he's got at 12 o'clock closed session request to discuss an assistant county attorney. I think
They're in Rockwell City now at a
Yeah.
28E meeting.
he has a friend was in the JAG Corps that's disabled, and Ben's wanting to bring him on as a part-time help for him.
And in my
He's talked to you about
with
it.
my personal discussion with him and as a pro bono
Yeah.
type deal. So, I mean, I guess we need to see what his.
Well, without a code section to close this, I can't close the meeting. So I'm going to talk with the county attorney, hopefully beforehand, and see if we can figure out why and how
Yeah.
we would have to have a closed session.
It might turn out that we don't need to go.
Yes. But I will talk with him beforehand, if I can get him, whenever he gets back.
He's not on till noon, and I think was theirs at 10:30?
Yes.
Yeah,
So he'll be pushed to be here at noon.
Do you want to go into recess?
we'll go into recess until, confer with the county.
Sitting here, we had to go back into session. The Calhoun County county attorney called, so we took that call. There will be a description in the minutes as to what the conversation entailed. I want you to know that.
Okay. Would just take a couple seconds to brief on what it was about? Was it
Yeah,
just
it
about?
was just, they had their 28E arrangement this morning, or their discussion, and the Sac County attorney has indicated that, and Carroll and Sac County are both, Carroll and Calhoun County are interested in taking the responsibility of the shared assistant 60 and 40%. Her not working here. As our discussion last time, that formality of that agreement cannot be canceled unless canceled by one of the boards of supervisors. But they have the ability to amend it. And they chose today in their 28E arrangement to amend it to include Carroll County taking 60% of the financial responsibility and Calhoun County taking 40%. That does not discontinue the 28E arrangement, but it does amend the financial responsibility.
So Sac County has 0 now?
Yeah.
As of today.
Well, she wants to.
That's what the discussion was.
That's gotta be him.
Morning.
Can I talk to you out here, Ben?
Yeah. And the heat and the wind. The heat and the wind make a significant difference. Good morning.
Morning, sirs, gentlemen. How are you? Good, how are you guys?
We'll open the meeting again, and county attorney is here, and he's requested we go into closed session under 21.5C and G. So, we both well covered in.
Yeah.
He explained what he wants to go over, and it's covered in those two sections.
You are satisfied with it?
I'm satisfied.
Okay.
So at this time, we'll go into closed session for the county attorney.
In just citing those specific sections.
And those two sections under
21.5
.5.
C and 21.5G. 21.5C being the section that discusses present and current litigation, and subsection G is for pending criminal investigations.
And this is May 31st. Time is 12:07.
Do we need to talk about the specifics of those? I think we all need to understand where we're going.
Well, we can't talk about the specifics of those.
No, but
Once we get in closed session.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll need a motion to go into closed session.
I'll move to go into closed session.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, and roll call.
Hecht, aye.
Stock, aye.
Bensley, aye. So this time we are in closed session. We'll have to ask the news media. Get the tape recorder.
Yep.
Is 12:41, May 11th, 2011. Okay.
We had come back into session. We were in recess and we got a phone call from Cindy Border. The board did hear.
Okay.
I guess she indicated what your plans are. Give you an opportunity to talk about it.
I mean, is this something we can talk about, since does it need to be on the agenda? I mean, I don't have a problem talking about it.
Well, I guess if we were to do action,
You're on the agenda, Ben.
I'm on the agenda, but, you know, the only intent I had to have that on the agenda was the matter we just discussed with Gabe.
What it says on the agenda is request to discuss assistant CA and Gabe.
Assistant CA, there's no and.
No, there is no end. It's up to you guys.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, I think that puts people on
I
sufficient
don't
notice.
think, it's not on the agenda,
Well, wait,
Put on next week.
yeah, I don't, there's no
no decision to be made, is
There's
there?
no decision to be made, and I don't see any urgency.
I mean, that in and of itself was an open meeting, that the 28 meeting that took place in Calhoun.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that we had received that phone call in an open meeting is part of the minutes of the record, so whatever.
Do we want to discuss anything, just, do we want to discuss anything we talked about in closed session or take action?
We should probably discuss it and give him some direction as to what is necessary before we come back and have an open meeting discussion, I would say.
On the first matter, the matter that we went into closed session about?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So what are we doing now?
Well, you in closed session, you had him.
You're right, in closed session, I indicated that there were certain things that I was going to do, that I was going to present and possibly put on the agenda at a later date, sooner than later, hopefully, but that information was going to be disseminated individually to the board members prior to said meeting.
And the requests included in pending litigation.
Yep.
And
An ongoing litigation.
Ongoing litigation, absolutely. But those things will be given to you guys, and I will, because I know that the ultimate issue. See, the thing is that there are two issues. Okay, you have the underlying basis for the closed meeting, and then the other matter that is going to come out of that is not going to be closed, that we're going to have an open meeting about. We're on the same page. I know that's very cryptic for you guys, but that's kind of where we're at, okay? That thing that is now, we're able to discuss in the open meeting will be, that information will be given to you guys beforehand. Those questions will be answered, and we can discuss it at that time. And then I'll also put 28E issue on at the same time.
okay.
Is that okay?
That's fine. It's fine with me.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you guys for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Feel good.
Yep.
We don't have any input from the county engineer today.
All right, he's at a meeting. And are you, back to Bell Fire, is that okay if you?
I have some questions about the number of smoke alarms he's got in some of these halls. He's got
I guess my point was, I brought it up in the meeting that we could contact someone from
That's
City.
it, yeah.
Are you willing to do that?
Sure.
And I don't think this building is that large. This whole floor with a couple of smoke alarms.
You know what I'm saying.
Butler, dinner,
Right?
anything going on. At least it's the one that I have at home. They're so sensitive, we put toast and toast and come back.
Well, I didn't mean to make extra work.
No.
That's a lot of money, and
Yeah.
I think it's a good deal.
I think we need some alarms.
I'll
You know,
contact
insurance.
another company. And in the meantime, we can get together and kind of pare that down, the number of alarms.
See you guys.
Yep.
Thank you for your time.
Okay.
It'll work. I'll get back to you on that.
We should probably do a better job of evaluating the plan and do we want to go to that level of protection? I mean, we every nook and cranny pretty much he has.
For example, those rooms over there behind your desk, there's nothing in there, and there's no one that uses them except for maybe 2 weeks out of the
The
year.
auditors use
Yeah.
them, and that's about it.
I wonder if our insurance company would weigh in on, is that bad?
It's been mentioned when they do
I mean, they're
their,
taking care of us without it.
yeah,
So I'm sure they'd be supportive of any and all. we
when they do their walkarounds for their safety inspections, they mention it every time that there's no fire protection in this part of the building, in the original building. So, I'll try and find another vendor,
Okay.
get some more information.
When we do that, our concern always is to compare apples to apples. But at the same time, this just at first glance appears to be, yeah, it really does. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
I so move.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.